Hey Ginger, let's welcome back, and today we are going to be installing all the lighting. Let's get going. First thing we got to do is clean the room and make it all pretty like. I only wish I could clean it this fast. So the first thing we got to do is we got to mud all the little cracks and screw holes in the building and sand it down smooth. So here's a little quick time lapse showing that process. Most of the power outlets are not installed yet, and obviously what we're going to do today is we're going to paint. That's going to be super fun, and then we're also going to be cutting holes in the ceiling. That's what's next. So I get a 6-inch bit and I am going to drill holes for these LED lights. These lights are amazing. I'll go ahead and put a link for them in the description below if you want to get them on Amazon. I put them in my studio. I put them in my garage. I put them in my crawl space. I love these lights. They're super thin, super easy to install. And the thing with the drill, I would say get a cordless drill and slowly drill. I made the mistake of drilling with that, and you can see it snaps my wrist back. My wrist was sore for like 2 months because of that. But I finally got all the holes drilled out. See what I'm talking about right there? Man, that hurts. And I'm like, what is going on? So I also, before I started cutting the holes, I put little screws in on one side, and I use chalk lines to snap my lines so that way all the lights are evenly separated apart. You can kind of see the faint lines in the wall right there. I also needed to scrape some of the popcorn ceiling. We'll do that in a little bit later. But here, I want to show you something real quick right here. This drywall, the row that I'm putting on right here, you can see because the house was so dirty, you can actually see the imprints of the beams through the drywall because of the dirt, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, that's when I realized, I made an entire row of lights right underneath the support beam. So I was thinking, how am I going to fit the lights in there? I'm going to have to scoot the lights over like 3 inches one way so that way they can fit inside the hole. What I didn't realize is these lights are so skinny and so awesome that you can literally put them up in the drywall. So like, here's your hole, here's your beam. You can literally put them in the hole anyways, and the beam will not touch the lights. They're that thin. So awesome. But anyways, I found that out a little bit later. But until I found that out, I just drilled new holes, and then later on I'm going to have to patch up the new holes I drilled because I'm going to go back to the original holes that I had made, so that way all the lights are in nice, pretty lines, and it doesn't look weird. When you're installing these lights, it's good to have them at least 3 feet away from the walls, so that way you don't get like an outline on your wall showing off the light. Unless you want that style, then you want it closer than 3 feet from the wall. So they're all 3 feet from the wall, roughly 3 feet apart, but I stacked in more lights than a typical room would want because it's a studio and I wanted a lot of lighting. And that's another thing about these LED lights that's so amazing. They're literally dimmable lights. Super cool. So you can see right here, I was cutting out the original hole that I wanted. Now that I realize that the lights can actually fit underneath the beams. So now that we got all the lights drilled, well, where the lights are gonna go, the next thing we gotta do is we gotta sand the popcorn ceiling down and scuff a little bit of the walls where the mud wasn't quite perfect. And this was quite a task, and I honestly could have done it a little bit better. But it's a 9-foot ceiling, so it's not like you're really close to it. So I didn't get all the popcorn, but I got all the really big chunks out, and this sander kills your shoulders. Yeah, that's all I can say about that thing. And if by chance you want the sander, I'll put a link for that in the description too. I think it's okay for smaller projects. But if you're really trying to get rid of your popcorn ceiling and you want like a smooth texture up there, the best thing to do is get mud and then just scrape the mud on top of the ceiling and then sand or smoothen out the new mud that you put on the ceiling. Unless, of course, your ceiling wasn't painted yet. If your ceiling wasn't painted yet, then it's super easy. Just put water and vinegar in like a spray bottle, soak the ceiling a little bit, get a putty knife. That thing comes off like butter. But if it was painted, you're screwed. Okay, so we got that all done. Now it's time to vacuum up, clean up, because the next step is painting. This is so gratifying to watch this. And oh, I miss Zelda. There she is, such a good girl, helping me out with the project. I could have made that part a little bit faster, but I wanted to show off the dog because She's gone. But here we go. We finally get to do the painting. So satisfying. I'll just shut up and let you watch the painting. Also, if you're a professional painter, what was I doing wrong? Because there's a lot of overspray, like atomization of like little tiny dots everywhere. It sprayed on everything. I looked like a crazy man when I was done. Is that just part of the job, or is my setting wrong? I wonder if my air pressure on my spray gun was too high. What do you think? I wasn't worried about the overspray on the window because I was a window cleaner at one point in my life, so it's easy for me to clean windows. Now we get to install the lights finally. So gratifying to see them hook up. So the old house, they had this random PVC pipe laying around. I decided to use that to snake the wires through the attic. And I was wearing a hard hat because it hurts banging your head up in the attic on all the nails all the time. And I kept having to go in the attic. You can see I'm fishing new wires through. And then I slowly test it every time. I didn't really need to test it every time. I was pretty confident. It's not the first time I use these can lights, but it's just gratifying to see them slowly coming on one layer after another. And then there's a few spots you can see a little bit of color differentiation, what's the word I'm looking for? That word, on the walls where I added a little bit more mud and sanded and stuff. So I have to do a little touch-up painting. All right, now that all the lights are in, we can actually see our mistakes a lot better. I put in new power outlets everywhere, and now it's time to touch up the paint job. Get on my crazy man suit and go to town. We are almost at the end of this long journey of creating the studio out of a disgusting garage. Now we're gonna do LED lighting. I kind of like that. So now this LED lighting, I'll put a link in it in the description if you want to get the exact same lighting that I have in my studio. Now this company, I forgot the name of the company, but now they have like longer versions. So before I think it was like 25 feet. I could be wrong. I'll double check. And I had to solder them together to make them as long as I needed them. But they do a great job. They can beat to like frequencies. So if you got music playing, they'll beat to the music, or you can change the colors. And here's me soldering them, connecting them together. You can also buy connectors that they have now for that. And then now I'm gonna mix up the paint. I got this paint for $1 because it was on clearance. It's also one of Crazy Nate's colors, but I think I wanna paint this red in the future because out of all the colors, I think the red lighting is the coolest when it's up there because it also matches, spoiler alert, my curtains. I made my curtains red. So I think I'm going to paint those in the future red. This was really hard to put these up by themselves. They're like 8-foot sections and I'm doing this alone. So that was really hard to do. If you have a partner, that would make it a lot easier to put those up. So some of them are a little bit crooked. I'll have to go back later and touch them up. But for now it works. And here we go. All right, so that's it. Stick around for the next episode of Building This Epic Home Studio. Thanks for watching. Share a smile. They are contagious.